At the core of America's greatness is the unshakable tenet of religious liberty. Our forefathers braved new worlds and extreme hardship in order to form a God-inspired land where people could worship according to their conscience and convictions. Today, in the small town of Spindale, North Carolina, freedom is under fire again. The vibrant, community-minded Word of Faith Church has been and continues to be under assaults of the most pernicious and evil sort. Lies, innuendo, outright falsified claims. This sordid tale has played out in the court of public opinion and in the courtrooms of a small town, with frequent news articles designed to destroy a hope-filled haven where the name of Jesus is glorified. A national reporter, perhaps pursuing his next journalism accolades, has viciously cobbled together half-truths, fabrications, and wild speculations while calling it investigative reporting. Word of Faith resolutely remains salt and light in a dark and bland world. There are endless stories of the church and schools' compassionate engagement with broken lives and families, and transformed lives remain as lasting fruit. Every court deliberation, including to the highest level in the state of North Carolina, has vindicated the church. An unrelenting attacking family of former parishioners has made an ultimate destruction of the church and its leaders their primary aim in life. Like sharks circling in bloody waters, they believe their cause is righteous when it is anything but. Word of Faith is committed to telling its story with grace, precision, and God-inspired confidence. Truth always wins in the end. We'll be focusing on real people, telling real stories. Our declarations will be heartfelt disclosures coming from the people who know what truth is and aren't ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Lies can't last. Personal testimonies can't just be edited away. We begin with this courageous story from Justin. Listen carefully as he calls the media to accountability, as he articulates the waffling nature of testimony from his family, and when he makes very clear what true truth is. Listen now.
My name is Justin Covington, and I am one of the 4 children to Shannon Muse. I have 2 sisters, Sarah Anderson and Rachel Bryant, and 1 brother, Patrick Covington. And I'm absolutely flabbergasted to see how they could change their life experience and change it into a story to fit their narrative. At some point in time, there has to be some accountability. How can you change your story after 20+ years of telling of your life of abuse as a child, and then all of a sudden change it within the past year? How do you recant that? When you have sworn under oath, when you've gone before judges, when you've gone before officials, and you have told them that this happened to you, how can you change that? How are you changing that now? So when were they lying? Were they lying then, or are they lying now? If the AP wants to put out the true story, why don't they go look at the documents, public documents, of Sarah and Rachel testifying before the judge, telling and describing their life as a child. That was the true story. There's a real story, and that's why I'm talking to you today. Mitch Weiss with the AP has not portrayed the true story yet. You cannot believe everything you hear and everything that has been painted by the AP. But what I'm telling you today is a true story. It really happened to 4 individuals, my sisters and my brother. I can never forget the horror of my mother beating me when I was younger, and my father. I would lay on my bed at night and just cry. My sisters would cry, my brother would cry. My brother and I were beat on our feet, and my mom would hold us down. My sisters were drugged by their hair, they were beat. I remember my sister getting beat with a broom. These are the memories that nobody could put in your mind. These are the memories that nobody can brainwash you with. It actually happened. We had a life of hell. We had a life of despair. We had a life of being locked out of the house when she didn't want us in there, and she wanted to party, and she wanted to do all her drugs, and she wanted to be with all her friends, and she wanted to drink. That was our life as a child. And there's nobody who can brainwash you and tell you and give you an imagination of what happened to you as you were a child. We were abused so much that the state of Florida had to intervene. The DSS took us. This was long before we went to the Word of Faith. This is long before we knew the Word of Faith. This is not the DSS of Rutherford County. This was Florida. This happened all long before we knew the Covingtons, long before we knew the Whaleys. And this was long before we knew anybody of the Word of Faith. She was not proven to be fit as a parent. Therefore, we were taken. I moved up here when I was 5 years old. I had no memory of a dad except of him beating us. When I moved up here, Kent Covington gave Shanna Muse, my mom, a job. And she worked for him. She loved him. And during that time, on Saturdays, he would take me fishing. He'd take me to get ice cream. Things I liked to do, he took me and that's what we went and did. We played ball together, and I loved being with him. And there was a day that I remember very distinctly. She was having a lot of hard time with me, and one thing I would do is I would run away from home whenever I was scared and whenever I didn't want to be with somebody. And she called him, and he came. He cared about me, and he cared about what bothered me. So I was in the woods, and he came to the edge of the woods, and he brought a little chair up, and he sat there, and he was there for a little while. And I inched my way out of the woods and realized this man really cares for me. I sat beside him, and all he said was, "What's bothering you?" That's what I needed. It wasn't about what I did, who said what, or what happened. He wanted to know what bothered me. And that's what a dad was. And I met my dad that day. From there, I was living with my aunt at the time, with my mother, and things started to get really bad. She decided she wanted to go back to her old lifestyle of drugs, and she started beating us again. She stopped for a little while, but then she wanted to go back and start doing it again. And she choked me, she beat my brother, and by this time my sisters were a little older, so she didn't do much to them. But it got really bad. She then decided she wanted to leave the church, and we didn't want to leave. This was the first time we were happy. This was the first time we had peace, and we loved it here. So at this time, the DSS got involved, and we wanted to live with Brooke and Kent. Those are the people we trusted, and those were the people we loved. And we wanted to stay, and she let us stay with them. But it wasn't for a little bit that she came back, and she wanted us back, and she wanted to make another story again. This has happened throughout our whole lives. This is not something that just started now. Our family has had a bad history of lying to get what they wanted. And this is what's happening today. The Coopers and my sisters and brother and all the rest of my family are lying. That is the reason why I'm speaking out today, is because they're taking this way too far. Saying that the Covingtons and other people in the church have coerced and lied and cheated to get children and take them from their mothers, that's ludicrous. We wanted to go with the Covingtons. She didn't want us. Just like when we were younger, she didn't want us.
Just over 10 years ago, a long court proceeding with lots of paper documenting testimony came to two unshakable conclusions, which were put in the document that the judge signed. These two important facts need to be heard and remembered. First, it says, based on clear, cogent, and convincing evidence, the defendants Vincent William Muse and Shanna Muse abandoned and neglected the minor children Vincent Muse and Justin Muse prior to the filing of this action. The court made it clear it was not an environment that was safe or acceptable to their development as children. Then it concluded it is in the best interest of the minor children, Vincent and Justin, for their care and custody to be placed with the plaintiffs, Kent and Brooke Covington, and that the mother have liberal unsupervised visitation as hereinafter set out. This young man, coming out of a deleterious environment, was put into a loving home, and the results can be seen and heard in what he's saying to you right now.
And the Covingtons, out of the goodness of their heart, took us in. They gave us everything. We all had braces. They paid for our doctor's bills. They gave us the clothes we needed. We had everything. And how could they turn and be so vicious to lie about them and to make it as if it was to their own advantage. But they wanted for us to have a good life. They wanted us to see a better life, and that's why they took us in. I love my mom and dad. I love them from the bottom of my heart, and they have done nothing but good for me and for my sisters and for my brother. It just baffles me to see how they could return bad for good. The Coopers, my sisters, and my brother all loved the Whaleys and the Covingtons. When we didn't have a family, they became our family. They let us in their family. They gave us everything. We had nothing. Everything we needed was supplied. Something changed. Now the Coopers, my sisters, and my brother, and my family wants to make them out to be demons, wants to make them out to be child abusers, wants to make them out to be people that are inhumane, when they were actually the ones that loved them. They took them in. They didn't have to. They didn't have to take us in. But we wanted to be with them, and they wanted us to be with them. If the AP really wanted the true story, why don't they come talk to us? Why don't they talk to me? Why don't they talk to my friends? We have such a happy life. We have everything we want. We have the best life on earth. Why don't they come talk to us if they want the true story? But instead, he wants to talk to those who have something that fits his narrative and that can make a story that is worth selling. In the past years, we have been through many investigations, and in no circumstance have we been told to lie. Everybody I was with told the truth. My sisters told the truth, I told the truth, my cousins told the truth. Everyone told the truth as to what really happened, and nobody was coerced or told to lie. No form of abuse has been here. Neither have we tried to cover anything up. When my sisters left, I made a decision I didn't want to be like them. They were truly ungrateful. My whole family has been cowards and a bunch of quitters, and that's exactly what they've been. I will not be a coward in the face of evil, nor in the face of persecution. I love my life, I love my wife, I love my parents that God gave me. I love this church, and I wouldn't want to have it any other way.